Is your Instagram theme page not growing? Has it been stuck at the same follower count forever? Has it even been losing followers? Are you someone that's unable to monetize your Instagram theme page? Or are you someone that just is looking to start an Instagram theme page? Maybe you have a couple hundred followers, maybe a couple thousand followers, and you're just feeling stuck and feeling lost. Well, if that is you, you've come to the perfect place. My name is Drew, and today we're going to walk through the 5 mistakes that are killing your Instagram theme page. And if you take a look at my other content on my page after this video, go look through it. I go through a bunch of different topics and I teach you everything that you need completely free to start and grow your Instagram theme page and even monetize it and land $1,000 brand deals the same way that I have. So I currently run Instagram theme pages full time, and we'll get into my story a little bit. Welcome, and let's get straight into the video. All right, here are the 5 mistakes that are killing your Instagram theme page. So I've listed them out here, and then we're going to get into each one with detail, and I'll show you some examples. I'll show you how I do it on my pages, and you can take a look at that and kind of understand what I mean by some of these. But just a quick overview so you know what you're getting. The 5 mistakes I've seen are not treating it like a media company. So they just treat it as a side hustle. They treat it as whatever. And look, if you're not making 10K a month from it, if you're not making, 50K a month, even if you're not making any money at all, that's okay. But understand, until you start to treat it as a company that can make money, it's never going to get to that point. So before I was ever making any money from my pages, all I knew is it was possible, and all I knew is that it needs to change, right? I'm making no money from the pages. They're not growing very quickly. What needs to change to get me to that point? Well, if I continue to just act as if, this is just a side hustle and it's just something I do for fun and I like to have some followers online so I can tell my friends, that's cool, but you're going to stay there forever. If you want to take the next step and level up, you need to start treating it as if it's a business. And we'll get into how to do that. So, number 2 is no content structure, right? Maybe you're just finding random posts online in your niche and posting them. Maybe you have no plan behind your attack. Maybe you are just grabbing the first thing that you see online that's already been posted by all of the major pages in your niche. So the chances of it going viral are literally 0. Maybe that's you. We'll get into how to structure your content better. The third one being no professional branding. People come to me all the time with questions about their content. They come to me all the time. Hey, Drew, look at my page. Can you audit my page for me? Can you take a look at this? And I click on their page and I immediately look at it. And I couldn't even tell you, maybe they're not even posting their own content. And we'll get into that. Look, obviously, theme pages are a lot about repurposing content. But you want to add your own spin to it, especially as theme pages are evolving. The days of just taking people's reels and posting them, those are going out the window. It's still very simple to grow a theme page. It still doesn't take a bunch of time, but you have to do different things. You have to do things differently, And you need to have professional branding. If you really want to get to the point where you're making thousands of dollars a month from it, you need to have some type of professional branding, because this is how people identify your page. It builds awareness, and companies with big marketing budgets will trust you to execute campaigns for them. If you are just a page that is posting a bunch of random tweets, or a page that is posting, just random content here and there with no branding behind it, no logos on the post, nothing, that's part of your problem. Number 3, you hear these people online tell you, just post, just post, just post, just post. You'll get it eventually, just post. Look, if you continue to post all the time, you will get better at it, right? You'll start to learn slowly what type of content does well, what content doesn't do well. You'll start to learn that stuff slowly. But the people at the top, the people that are doing this full time, the people that are wanting to do this full time, the people that, I talk to on a daily basis, and myself, we're analyzing our content on a weekly basis. We're analyzing our content on a monthly basis because, and we'll get into it, but if you can consistently raise your content floor, what is the content floor? Your content floor is your worst performing posts. People all the time obsess over, oh, I want to get a post with 10 million views. Oh, I want to get a post. They always obsess over the top content, right? This is the wrong way to look at it. If you're always just trying to put out the next best post, one, you're going to get burned out because you can't control that. After a certain point, after it hits the explore page, after it starts to go viral, Instagram is going to determine how many people it reaches, right? You can't, there's certain things that you just can't control. Whether a post gets 5 million views or 10 million views is going to come down to Instagram, right? But what you can do is you can fix if your post is getting, if you're getting 100 likes a post, if your worst performing post for the month was 100 likes, or if your worst performing post for the month was 500 likes. And if you keep raising the floor, guess what? The ceiling is going to continue to raise as well. And then the last thing that I see killing people's theme pages is they don't even understand their audience and they don't have a unique angle. So we'll get into each one of these in depth. But before we do that, I would like to introduce myself. Some of you guys are new here. Some of you guys have been following me on Instagram for months. You know all about me. But those of you guys that are new, I've helped out tons of students, whether they went from 0 followers to 100,000 followers, whether they went from making no money to monetizing their page and actually getting monthly brand deals, monthly retainer brand deals. So they're working with a company for 5 months for X amount of posts a month for X amount of money. Or maybe they had never done social media before. They've seen online that you can make money from social media. They didn't want to put their face out there. So they came to me because they saw the Faceless Instagram page opportunity and they wanted to take advantage. So I helped them set up their page, grow their page, and then monetize their page. I personally made my first $10,000 online while I was still in college with theme pages, while I had friends, while I was, living my life, while I was working 2 internships, while I was doing classwork as well, because theme pages don't take a ton of time, right? Whether you want to spend an hour on it a day, 2 hours on it a day, it's going to come down to how fast you want to grow. But at the end of the day, I'm growing multiple pages at once, right? And once you start to hire people out, once you start to do all these things, it doesn't take as much time. But even when you're first starting, if you're focused on one page, you can get everything done that you need in an hour and 2 hours in a day. You can even take days off depending on what niche you're in. If you're in a niche that you can plan out content in advance, you don't need to be doing content every single day. You can schedule your post out for the entire week and then just let your account grow on its own and just go in every single day for 10, 15 minutes and just engage with your community, do small things like that. And I've helped scale, like I said, multiple theme pages to over 100,000 plus followers. So let's get into point number 1. So not treating it like a media company. So what do I mean like this, right? Obviously, your page is not ESPN. Obviously, your page is not Bleacher Report. Obviously, your page is not Wealth. It's not 433. Those are media companies. But the reality is, all of those, besides ESPN, obviously, started off as theme pages, started off as just Instagram pages and growing a following. So understand that is a potential end goal for you. That is the ceiling, right? That's where you could eventually get. So if those people, if Omar, starting House of Highlights, treated it as it was a side hustle and as if, he was just posting for fun to gain a few followers, would it have ever become House of Highlights? Absolutely not. And people consistently come to me and they treat it like a side hobby. And I used to do the same thing with my pages. And until I started to treat it as if it was a real business, things didn't change until then. And I used to just get on, post a reel once a day at the end of the day and just find the first thing that went viral and just throw it up there. And sometimes I get results, sometimes I didn't. I built no sense of community, no branding, none of that. I was just another random Instagram page. And yeah, you can grow it like this and it's getting harder and harder as more and more pages come out. But once you can differentiate yourself, once you can actually brand yourself, once you can actually treat it as if it's a business, you'll get way ahead. And a real media company has systems, they have formats, they have schedules, they track their analytics very, very closely, and most importantly, they have branding. you can't just wake up and decide what to post, right? You should have some type of plan in place. For me, running a sports page, right? And I'll show you guys my pages. Daily Athlete is one of my pages that generates me a few $1,000s a month, anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 a month. And we're reaching anywhere from, 30 to 50 million people a month. And I don't just wake up and decide what to post, right? When it comes to real life events, obviously there's certain things you can't really plan too much ahead, like on the days of games, right? There might be a story that pops up and it just, whether you hop on the story or not. But there's certain events that you can schedule out in advance, the Super Bowl, the playoffs, all these things. You can plan certain content in advance, whether it's nostalgic content, anything like that, to where, each day I already have content ready to go just in case there's not enough real stories that come out. Now, this is the sports niche. A lot of you guys are in the wealth niche, motivation niche, these type of niches. You can just plan content way in advance, and you should not be waking up the day of deciding what to post. You should already have a plan in place and execute on that plan. And you should have different types of content pillars that you're executing on. And understand that your page is a product. It needs to be consistent in tone, style, identity. When you look at some of the biggest pages, when you look at my page even and click on it, it is, very, very consistent. And this is because you don't want to be posting, one type of style one day, one type of style another day. If you're first starting out, you should be replicating your style based off one of the bigger pages because they have proven that it works. Now, don't just copy them, but understand if you're in the motivation niche, there's a certain type of music to be using. There's a certain type of font that does better. There's a certain type of editing style that does better. These are the things that you should be paying attention to, and this becomes your identity for your page. And without structure, you're just creating randomness, and randomness is impossible to scale. If you look at those pages that just post, memes every single day, they're never going to become, anything special, right? They're just going to consistently post random memes and stuff, and when you look at their page, it just looks like you're scrolling through Twitter, right? So it's going to be very hard for them to scale that. It's going to be very hard for them to differentiate themselves because there's thousands and thousands of pages just like theirs. And pages that grow fast, they operate like a newsroom, not just a casual Instagram account. And, newsroom is probably not the best word to use here, but they operate as if they have a system in place, right? Every single day, they have a way to find content. They have templates in place. They have things in place that, make it systemized every single day. So that way they're consistent with what they're putting out. So number 2, just randomly posting. So this was like probably the biggest mistake that I was making when I first started. And it was just, the theme page was in the back of my mind. And obviously, if you want to turn this into a real business, if you want to start making good money from it, you need to be thinking about it. It needs to be a priority of yours, right? So if you just randomly post every single day, the first thing that you see online, or it's the last thing you do at night before you go to bed, you just, oh crap, I need to post on my theme page. Understand that you're not going to be rewarded for this. And consistency is algorithm trust. So obviously back when I used to do this, when I was first starting, there was plenty of days when maybe I missed a post, or plenty of days where I was like, oh, I'm going to start posting 3 times a day. And then it just faded out because it just wasn't a priority of mine. And this doesn't need to be, something every single day. It needs to be very predictable. So you need to have a certain schedule in place. You need to have a cadence in place. So whether it's, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, whatever it is, you can go look at my content schedule. I have a whole entire video on it, but basically you should have something in place that has a little strategy behind it. So the way that I used to really do things when I was posting a lot of reels was understanding that the algorithm pushes, if your first post of the day is good, the rest of your posts that day are going to perform well too. So your best post of the day should be your first post of the day, because then it raises the floor of your other posts. So I've made my schedule based off of that, and I put reels, I'd always post a reel first because that was the highest engaging things on my account back in the day. So I post a reel first, gets, high engagement, then my regular post, my graphics and stuff would perform better. Now that I have phased out Reels and actually replaced them with me putting myself on camera because I'm growing my personal brand on Daily Athlete now. Now my carousels are my highest performing posts. So carousels go first and then Reels go last at the end of the day to increase engagement on that. And eventually my Reels, as I get better at them, will be my highest performing thing on the account. So then they will then move to the first thing of the day. And if you're randomly posting, understand that that also means random results. And if you're randomly posting, you're probably not analyzing your content. You're probably not looking at your analytics. You're probably not doing any of that. And you're just throwing a dart at the board with no skill behind it. And you're just hoping, and sometimes, you might hit the bullseye. Most of the time, you're probably going to throw it somewhere that you didn't intend. And understand it's the same way with content. And the thing is, like, there's no one out, if you put your face out there, if you're someone putting your face out there, if you're an influencer, you're never just randomly throwing at the board. But for some reason, when people come with theme pages, right? You don't need to put your face out there for a theme page, obviously, right? But when people do theme pages, they don't view it the same way, right? They're just randomly posting and randomly throwing things at the board and hoping that it works, or maybe they're just copying off of someone else. And you don't get any data, you don't get any patterns, and you don't learn anything. So the last thing with this is, if you're randomly posting, like I said, there's going to be times where you become inconsistent. And if you become inconsistent, your engagement is just going to dip. You have to stay in front of the audience every single day because you're competing against people that are doing the same thing. And even if you have 1,000 followers and you're like, oh, well, the pages that post every single day have millions of followers. Well, is that your goal, to one day have millions of followers? Because if it is, you're technically competing against them in some sense. And when it comes to the algorithm, right, you're competing against everyone in your algorithm. So understand that. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see, especially if you want to make money from your page. You have to have professional branding, right? You have to. And when I look at so many pages, right, either their formats are just things that I've never seen before, right? If you're first starting, if you have no skill, that's completely fine. But you should not just think that you understand content and not just think that you can come out with some new format or something that's going to work. I say it in all of my videos, you need to have proof of concept. So if every single time when I start a new page in a new niche that maybe I have never been in before, I'm not just coming out with some type of content formula I think is going to work. I still sit there and analyze the people that are, doing well in that niche, and I look at their content, analyze their content, put it all into a nest, and then I can look through all of it, maybe even put it in AI, and then I analyze what are they doing that's working, what are they doing that doesn't work, and then I create my content based off of it. So that way I get a boost because I'm basing it off of proof of concept. If your account looks like no other pages in your niche when you're very first starting, it's going to struggle. So for example, right, maybe in your niche, maybe you're in the motivational niche, right? And there's those, you see that every single post, like maybe you're in the sports motivational niche, right? And every single good account in your niche that does sports motivational content starts the video off with, some type of player or someone's, and I've even seen it. I'm not in the sports motivation niche, but I've seen it, right? It's usually someone speaking, right, with a clip, and then it switches into, some type of edit of them that's motivational. So it would be smart to copy that because it's proof of concept. If you just want to, start off without that little clip at the beginning of people speaking, and you want to go your own route, you can try it, but understand you would be much better off doing what's working on other pages on your own page because you're going to get boosted, especially if you have low followers. As you start to grow and get to hundreds of thousands of followers and understand content, then you can start to try out your own things, and you can start to try out your own content. But when you're first starting, especially, you should be basing it off of another page. And branding is trust, and trust equals more followers and more shares, right? So if people consistently see your formats popping up on their page because they follow you, they're going to be more likely to engage. If people consistently see you on their Explore page, they're going to be more likely to follow you. And psychologically, they make that connection that your page, and every time I see this logo or every time I see this graphic, I get good results. I get a good story out of it, or I get, something hits me emotionally with it. And as you start to build this up, understand that you're going to convert people more often than not. And when it comes to my page, right? People see my stuff in their explore page probably a few times before they ever follow me. And if the post looked different every single time, or there was no logo on it, they may not even be making that connection that it's the same page every single time. So the next thing is to keep your fonts, your colors, and your layout very consistent across every single post. And if you look at Daily Athlete, I do that extremely well, and we'll pull it up real quick. But like if you were to land on my page, you can look and see that it's, very, very consistent every single time. And like look at the page, does it look professional? Does it look, high quality? Do you think people understand what they're getting when they land on my page? Because at the end of the day, when someone clicks on Daily Athlete and they see this, does it look good? Does it look higher quality than most pages in the niche? Does it look like something that someone might want to convert and follow on? Or does it look like just random stuff? Every single post is same fonts, same colors, same templates, and they know they are getting a good story out of it, right? We're telling a story, even sometimes putting videos at the end and everything like this. So understand that. And that's why, we get good engagement. That's why some of our posts have, millions and millions of likes on them. Like, for example, 65,000 likes in a couple of days. So understand that. And if you're doing that consistently, you're going to be just fine. But if your page just looks random, it's going to be harder to convert people. And your first slide, especially if you're posting, this is the same for Reels. I said thumbnail because this is really what I specialize in. But if you're posting Reels, it's the first 3 seconds, right? The first 3 seconds should be very strong, should hook people in. You guys understand this. I'm sure you've heard it a million times. But find, some type of hook that works every single time and just repeat it over and over. Find a thumbnail or some type of graphic, some template, whatever, that works every single time and repeat it over and over. It should be clean, it should be bold, it should be simple. And even when it comes to like fonts, right? Don't use a font that you've never seen used on Instagram before. That's the same as, trying out a new piece of content that maybe you've never seen work. You're just throwing darts at the wall and hoping that it lands. If you're posting something as little as the font could be something that, people don't like. I've seen people use like cursive, and I've never seen in any niche cursive writing work on Instagram. So understand that, unless you're in like the quote niche or something. High quality pages win because people stay and they binge them. So when someone lands on Daily Athlete, right, and maybe they click on my page, they go to the profile, they can scroll through and consistently just keep getting high quality content. And, that's not only if I get to 2 million views on one post, it's going to spread across all of my posts for some of those people because they're coming to the page and they're scrolling through a bunch. And that alone increases the engagement, increases the views, increases the money I make on all of my content. And poor branding, no matter what niche you're in, makes it feel like a meme page, and brands aren't going to take that seriously. Most people aren't going to take that seriously, and this is something that you really need to focus on changing. Mistake number 4 is not analyzing weekly and monthly performance. And I can't stress this enough. I do this every single month. I go in and I take my 5 best posts, my 5 worst posts, and I do this with all of my students too. I do it myself. I take their 5 best, 5 worst posts and analyze them. And then I give them the breakdown of what they did well, what they didn't do well, and how they can raise their floor and how they can continue to get good quality content out. You cannot grow what you don't measure. Save, shares, follows from posts, these are your growth levers. If you're posting something that got, 10,000 shares, you need to ask yourself, why did it get 10,000 shares? And content, when you're posting a lot of content, right? You may not know what's going viral, what's not. Obviously, you're going to know if a post gets 10 million views because it's an outlier, but maybe something you posted got, 60% more views than what you normally do. And maybe you haven't noticed it because you're not analyzing your content and you're not looking at your notification constantly. And this is something where you could take that post that did 60% better, and maybe if you made a couple tweaks, it would have been one that got 10 million views. And with that being said, you can then take that content formula, maybe add a better story to it, or maybe do it with a different player or whatever, and then this could be a post that gets 10 million views. Your last 20 posts tell you everything, what works, what doesn't work. If you're looking at content from months and months ago, the algorithm's constantly changing. So those posts are, that's old data. You should have already been looking at those. Most creators are ignoring retention. They're ignoring the scroll depth. They're ignoring the drop-off points. This is why I cross-post to TikTok in my carousels, because it tells you on TikTok exactly where people are dropping off at. Instagram doesn't do it as well. It does it with Reels. If you have Reels that you're posting, you can see where people drop off on there. But once again, there's different analytics for different people, depending on what version of Instagram is being tested for you right now. Some of my accounts, I can see when people drop off on Reels, some I can't. So I also post on YouTube Shorts, because YouTube Shorts then tells me exactly where people drop off. So if you don't have that data, you're just repeating the same dead formats. You're not really understanding why people dropped off. If you have a video, you should be able to see if everyone dropped off in the first 3 seconds, well, it was your hook that was wrong. People dropped off, halfway through the video, well, maybe they felt like they already got the full story, or the story was boring, whatever. And this changes your page from, being luck-based, which is how I used to run all of my pages, and I didn't have that much success, to then being system-based. Once you're system-based, and with AI today, you don't have to be a content genius. AI can help you and tell you exactly what's good, what's bad. Even on TikTok, they have an AI that will analyze your analytics for you, tell you what to change, where things went wrong, and you can use these to then make you into someone that's really good at content. Mistake number 5 is not understanding your audience and not having a unique angle. So you're posting what you want, not what they actually care about. So if you're just posting stuff that you thought was really good, or you're posting stuff that, I don't understand people that just post, you can scroll through and find the most viral pieces of content, and you should be repurposing those, as opposed to going on YouTube and just trying to find your own content, because you have no proof of concept. And if you're not someone that understands content super well, this isn't going to go well for you. And this is the same as just hoping and using luck. Every niche has sub audiences. You need to know which one you're serving. So instead of being like and I've used this example before, instead of just being a motivational page, you could be a David Goggins page. And then it's much easier to have that sub audience with you and grow that sub audience, and then transition into the motivational niche once you have a certain amount of followers. You need to have a unique angle. So your tone, your point of view, your emotion, your storytelling style should all be the same. Daily Athlete, we follow the same similar tone, the same emotions, the same storytelling all the time, and we very rarely add something new in. But if we do, we test it out and see how it does. If it does bad, then we just simply cancel it out. If we test something out and it does really well, well, then we continue with it. If your content feels generic, you blend in with all of the other pages, and it's hard to differentiate yourself. You will gain followers, but it's hard to differentiate yourself. And your audience, it changes over time, so you need to adjust your content style to match it. And the pages that grow are obsessed with their audience, not with themselves. So you need to know also your audience for brand deals. And in my brand deal video, I talked about this in depth. But if your audience is from, India mostly, you're going to want to try to transition into a more US-based audience, into a more Europe-based audience, into a more UK or Canada-based audience, because these are where the highest paying brand deals come from. India there's nothing wrong with having an Indian audience, but understand that those are the brands that you're going to get coming to, and their budgets are probably lower. Your goal isn't to just post content. Your goal is to solve a feeling, problem, or desire. So these are the 5 mistakes that I've seen. Now I want to show you guys something, and stay with me here, because someone reached out to me the other day and was asking me about content, was asking me about what, my course is. I do not sell a course, guys. I work with everyone one-on-one. So a lot of these people with Instagram theme pages, they are, just throwing you into a community, throwing you into a course and hoping that you learn. That's not how I do it, and that's never how I will do it. So every single person that works with me has, a specific one-on-one dashboard that we use. And You know, they have their 4 pillars here that they can look through. They have resources here. They have monetization scripts here. They have a daily ritual that they go through. And then they have different levels that they must go through. And I'm not going to show you exactly what the things are in here. But they have different levels as they work with me. And then once they complete the level, we hop on a call and we go through it. They also have certain things. For example, actions that they need to do. So they have weekly, every Friday, they throw in their content for the week, their best performing posts, worst performing posts, and I analyze them. They have problem and solution log. If they have something that they're having issues with, they throw them in there and I help them with that. So we're not just throwing people into a course. I think that's stupid. And that's the same as just, it's basically what I'm putting out on YouTube, right? Obviously, yes, I have videos in here for people that are constantly, a lot of people ask, you know, the same questions. And a lot of people that work with me are just starting from zero. So obviously there are videos in here that help people get started, because it wouldn't make any sense for me to repeat the same things over and over again. But I'm actually working with everyone one-on-one, and every single person is getting on a call with me one-on-one to help them with their page. And we have a certain, you know, I work with them for 90 days and we have goals right here that, you know, they're trying to reach. And if they don't reach those goals, then we, you know, continue to work with them until they reach those goals. So it's guaranteed results. So, you know, people are asking me about, you know, what's your course talking about? I don't have a course. I have, you know, I work with everyone one-on-one, because we're not just I'm not selling a course here. I am trying to grow your page with myself. That's why I only take 2 clients a month, because I want to make sure that they're getting results. And the people that are taking 50 clients a month, just understand you can go work with them. That's cool. But they're just throwing you into a course and hoping that it works. I do have a community, but the community is obviously in incongruence with this. And the community in there, you know, I'm throwing in real-time updates because there's algorithms and things like that that are constantly changing, new updates, everything like that. I throw in updates there. But understand, if you're working with me one-on-one, you actually work with me one-on-one. And this, you know, I'm not like the other people that are just throwing you into a course. If you want to go work with them, cool. But they're probably telling you the same information that I tell you on my YouTube completely free. So understand that. And if you're interested in getting your own one-on-one dashboard, if you're interested in getting on calls with me, you know, as you go through the levels, as you complete stuff, and you're interested in guaranteeing yourself results, go ahead and click the first link down below. I would love to work with you guys. I have room for one more client next month, so interested to see who that's going to be. It could be you if you want to. Go ahead and apply down below. And that's the other thing. I make people apply because I don't just accept everyone, because I'm working with you one-on-one and I'm guaranteeing results. I need to make sure your page is something that I can grow. If you are, you know, maybe you don't have enough time, maybe you don't have enough, you know, XYZ, I'm not going to work with you, and that's fine. You still have my YouTube for free. You also have my Instagram. If you want to check that out, it's also in the link down below. More free content, free value there, and go check that out. But I just wanted to show you guys this because a lot of people ask about my dashboard, ask about, you know, things of that nature. This is exactly what they're getting, and this is, you know, one of my clients that we're helping grow his page, and he's already grown, you know, pretty well. So if you're interested, apply down below. But thank you guys for watching. Subscribe and click the like button if you got value from this video.